Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be part 2 of our menu. So if you take a look up what we had in the first video, we just talked about getting a menu selection based upon certain values. So in this particular case, we're going to be able to get 1, 2, 3, and whatever the sentinel is 4. So we have a function that's going to do that for us, which is get selection. It asks us what's to get the selection, and then it allows us to process a selection in here. So what I want to do now is just enhance the get selection just a little bit. Let's just say that we don't want to use a menu system. Maybe we want to get a number between 1 and 10. Maybe we want to do something different. So let's overload this get selection function and allow us to put in a prompt. So we have here get selection. So I'm going to create another one and just put inside. Actually, probably want to do it right underneath this. And let's just do integer get selection. But this time we're going to pass a string as a prompt. So the code is going to be very, very similar to what get selection is. So let me create that right now. And notice that we have a string passed and we're going to use a prompt. And let us go and copy the code from get selection. And then we'll need to make some adjustments, just some minor adjustments. So the first thing we need to make sure is that we're returning the proper one, which we did. I'm going to close this here. I don't like having this up top. And so I have it here. It's still here. And it's annoying me. So now it's closed. And let's go back to the function that we're going to write. So we have a prompt in here. We have the selection that we're going to need and need selection. So basically everything is the same, with the exception of instead of what is your selection, let's just put out the prompt. So now we can pass to this our own user-defined prompt for whatever we want in here. And then we're going to get the selection. Then we're going to get need selection. So everything so far is going to be identical. So let's go back up to our main function. And we have display menu, selection equals get selection. So let's just put in get selection. And here we'll put in get selection. And we will put in enter your choice. And whatever you want to put in here. So we know that it's working. I'm just going to put whatever it is. And then you can refine that later. So we could do things like from 1 to whatever. But let's just put this in here. We're going to make sure that we're actually doing the right one. So let me go and run it again and see what happens. Now remember, when you overload a function, it's going to look at the function name, and if there's two different types of it, it's going to look at the parameters. Now, I couldn't change this and return a double without getting an error because I wouldn't know which one to do. I could if the actual parameters are different, but in this particular case, if I did an integer and a double and it's exactly the same, it's going to complain. So there are ways to do that by using a class template, but that's not what we're worrying about right now. So let's go in here and check to see how this works, assuming it does work. And it says enter your choice, whatever it is. So everything is fine. I'm going to enter a 5 here and see what happens. So it says invalid choice, valid choices are, enter your choice, whatever. So that part is working. So now you can put your own user-defined choice in here. So if you wanted to do something a little sneaky, you can, with a C out, you can mix and match integers and strings. This particular case, you can't. So let's go and put in here from, and let's change this to enter your menu selection from, and it's going to start at 1. And let's make a mistake so you can see how to fix this. And you know when you have strings, you can add a plus sign, and we want the sentinel. And here's our sentinel. And then we want a plus sign, and then we want maybe a little bit of a space. So you notice we have an issue. We can't do that. So, oh, I know what we can do. We'll just go and put in the extraction. Well, that doesn't work in a parameter. So what we need to do is we'll keep the plus sign, and we can actually do strings. And let's just go to string sentinel. Now, we may get an issue here as long if we declare string, we're in good shape in here. So we have an issue in here. So let's go and see what happens if we include string. And let's see what we have here. So now it goes away. So the first thing you want to do, if you have a function that you know is legitimate, but you get this ugly red line, it will probably tell you what the problem is. So I'm going to comment this out. Let's just see if Visual Studio is nice enough to tell us that we need to include string. And let's see what it says here. Identify string not identified. So you might say, well, I just type in std. But let's go and hit Alt-Enter and see if that works. A lot of times here you can click here and it says, oh, look at this, include string. So it's pretty good. It gives us some ideas on what to do. So now let's go and run this program again and see if we get the actual thing. So one, we probably need 2. And let's see how we're working here. And we have enter your meta instructions, 1, 2, 4. So if I press 5, it should tell us invalid choices, valid are 1, 2, 4, enter your meta. So that takes care of that. All right. So let's go and look at process selection in here. So there's other ways that we can do all kinds of things, such as creating the get selection by putting in a low and a high. But let's go into process selection and see how that works. So first thing we want to do is create it if we have not created it. And it looks like we have. So we have a selection that's passed. So let's take a look at a switch statement, which would work really nice here. So we're going to do switch selection. And we'll put in our brace. And then I always like to put in the end here. So then we'll do case 1. And I'm going to copy and paste this. And then we want a default. So this would have to change to 2 and 3 and 4. And then default is there just in case. So one thing that's very important is if you're going to process a selection, make sure that you include a break here. And a break here. So we just copy and paste and hopefully it works. Now you really don't need the break in the default because that should be the very last thing if you feel more comfortable putting it in here. So now if you have a menu selection that says press 1 to do this, do this, do this. So you would just put the code in here, call the function that you needed to do inside of here. So we just put in call function to process this. So in this particular case, why don't we write a simple function that gets the area of a rectangle? Should be fairly easy, the length times the width. So now we have a function here that's going to let us get the area and let us get the width. We don't really need to write any additional code. So let's create a function called, and we'll return an integer, and we'll call it calc area. And we really don't need to pass anything at this point in time. You can always modify it to do that later on if you like. So let's go and create it. And let's get rid of this. Here's calc area. And let's create a couple of integers. So we want, first of all, we want length. And this is the way I do it. Equals 0, width, never going to be a good speller, and area. Now we need a semicolon after here. And of course, you would put your comments here. So now that we have the calc area, we need to create the function that actually calculates the area. So the first thing is going to be length equals get, and I do not remember what we called the function. Was it get number? Let's see, get selection. So we probably should rename that to get number, but we'll call it get selection. And we're going to pass what is the length. So we're going to test this first. And we need to return area. So we'll return area even though, of course, it's going to be 0. So let's go to our selection in here and let's just create a variable here and we'll call it area. And then let's go and do area equals get area, or is it calc area? Calc area, and we don't need to pass anything. We could actually do get the length and the width in this one, and we could pass it into calc area, note the length and width. So again, that's just a matter of preference. So let's, for this particular case, let's just do it this way. So we're going to go to calc area, and we're going to hit F12 to get the calc area. What is the length? Everything's good in here. Get selection. So let's go and run this program, and let's see if it actually works. And there's build errors. That's always exciting. So I probably commented out the return. So let me see what syntax error in see what we have here. Syntax error, syntax error. And this usually means I'm missing something. So, okay, with the switch, a lot of times it's going to force you to put some code in here. So let's try it with put the code in here. Sometimes it lets you and sometimes it doesn't. So let's go and try it again, see what happens. All right, so that was it. And let's go and type in 1. And so far, nothing's happening in here. And why is that? It's simple. We're going to go to our main and look at why. It says, oh, look at this. We never processed the selection. So this is where you want to do one thing and test it out. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go process selection. And we're going to pass selection. So let's try this again now. And let's try 1 again. And it says, what is the length? And 30. And so we're good over here. Okay, invalid choice. Uh-oh. We have a problem here. Why do we have a problem? Very simple. Because get selection is only going to allow us to go up to 5. Oh, what are we going to do about that? Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to create another function here, get selection in here, with the same thing. And this time, we're going to pass two integers. So we're going to pass the lowest and the highest in here. So let's go and create this here. And we'll make this lowest. Now, it's not a good idea to use min and max because they're actually functions. And we'll call this highest. So, and we'll call this prompt. So now we have pretty much the same thing. So let's go to our get selection with our prompt in here. And we'll go here. And we'll just do basically the same thing. We're just going to make some minor changes. So here we have need selection is less than lowest, or selection is greater than highest. So that's good. So we might, in this particular case, we might want to change the name to get value, whatever it is. But remember, we can pass the lowest as 1 and the highest as a sentinel to do the exact same thing. So here we're going to do this, and let's go and run the program again. Only remember, here, when we go into the process selection, which is the calculate area, as soon as I find it, we need to calculate area, and then in calculate area, it needs to get selection, and we're going to pass, say, 1. And let's just make it 1,000. Now, you could also write one that has no maximum, just a minimum. But let's just take it where we don't want anything bigger than 1,000. And let's go in here and press 1. And it says, what is the length? Let's do 500, see if that works. And that's good. So we're done now. So let's go and finish this out. And let's just do the width equals the same thing, only what is the width? Now, some people may argue that you want to make sure that the width is less than the length, but for our purposes, let's not worry about it. And then we can do one of two things. We can do area equals length times the width, which it does. Or you could actually return length times the width. Now, I prefer to do it this way. My personal feelings are the less things you put in a return statement, the clearer it actually looks in here. So let's go and run this program with get selection, calc area, and let's just do see out the area is, and we'll do area. Then I'm going to show you a little trick that I do as well. So we want to make sure that what we are calculating in a function is actually being returned properly. So let's go in here and put in to make sure that they're the same. So let's go here. The area is area and out. So now we should get the same thing twice. And let's see if we're returning it. So let's go back in here and we'll do 1. Let's do 50 and 10, so we should get 500. The area is 500, the area is 500, and that's fine. So that's how you process it. So when you're doing your project, which asks you to input a value to check, and then to print out how many are there, And then to print out the histogram, you're going to use something similar to this. So I'm going to do just one more thing before I close this out. And let's write basically the same thing, get selection in here. And I'll copy this one. And this time we'll put in an integer. And we have a string. So let's write this here. And we will put in the lowest, assuming I can spell. And then we'll put in the prompt. And then we're going to copy the exact same code here again, just make one itsy bitsy modification. So let's go here. Let's put this here. And we want get selection. So we have the prompt, we have the get selection. Now here, the only thing we need to do is need selection if selection is less than the lowest. We don't need to worry about this. So now we're good here. So we can now enter a function with a width of whatever we want in here. So this is good if you want to get a positive number. So this hopefully will get situated. In my next video, I'm going to take these functions here and show you how easy it is to make sure that you don't input a integer, and for an integer, you actually put in a character. So for instance, let's run this again and let's put in a character and see what happens. In all probability, the program is going to crash. And yes, I know you can do C and fail, but that only gets you so far. So let's go and type in ABC and see what happens. Well, that's not real good. So we have definitely have a dilemma here. So stay tuned for our next video. We're going to be using some functions that I've written that's actually going to input a data, whether it be an integer or a floating point, as a string. Then we're going to check to see if it actually is a number. If it's not a number, then we are going to force the user to put in a number. Then we have the same thing that has a number between the lowest and the highest in here. That's all that's done. So if you type in a letter, then you're going to get told, hey, no letters involved. So that is it. Hopefully these are help. Please leave your comments. Let me know what you think of these things. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to make a video of, and I'm going to do my best to make as many as I can. So have a great day.